We begin this service by saying the 7 principles which were given us via the mediumship of Emma Hardage Britton, who is one of our greatest pioneers. The 7 principles form the foundation of the philosophy of spiritualism. The principles are not meant to be binding rules, but they provide the foundation for developing our own personal philosophy. If you know the 7 principles and if you would like, I invite you to join me by saying them. The 7 principles are the fatherhood of God, the brotherhood of man, the communion of spirits and the ministry of angels, the continuous existence of the human soul, personal responsibility, compensation and retribution hereafter for all the good and evil deed done on earth, eternal progress open to every human soul. Could I now please invite Jack into the room to give us the opening prayer?
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, can we just join our thoughts together in prayer? Divine Spirit of infinite love and wisdom, we come to you in prayer, seeking your inspiration and encouragement. We as spiritualists throughout the world at this special time of the year unite in prayer as we seek to become more aware of our spiritual understanding and aspire to become known in your likeness. Divine Parent, we yearn for consolation and hope in our times of crisis and need as we pray for your guidance. May your strength and inspiration inspire our community to become even more mindful of your presence in our lives as we strive to seek the pleasure in sharing acts of kindness where possible. We know that your love will care and embrace for all who are ill at this present time, whether it be in physical or mental health, or indeed offering solace to those in grief. May your divine grace embrace and support them. We, as ambassadors of your message, in being of service to others, pray that your ministering angels will guide us to be steadfast in your mission in bringing comfort to the lonely, help to the needy, and hope to all. Lord of all that has life, may we be ever conscious of your power to uplift the weary and give strength to the weak in their times of need. And for all of this, we simply thank you in return. Amen.
Thank you, John, for this opening prayer. Could I now invite you, John, into the room to give us your reading and following your address?
Thank you very much, Anne-Marie. Well, good evening, everyone. It's nice to see you. There's many faces I recognise there too, so thank you for joining us this evening. My warning is sometimes my internet drops, so if I suddenly freeze, then please just bear with me. I'll try and pick up from where I left off. I know when it freezes, so as I say, please bear with me. In thinking about a reading for you this evening, I thought of a book which I often refer to, and as one of those books that people sometimes say to me, can you recommend a book on spiritualism for a beginner, something that will start me off in my understanding about the religion of spiritualism? And there is a very simple book which I'm sure many of you will be familiar with, and it's simply called The Religion of Spiritualism. And it's very much become a textbook, I guess, for spiritualists and for those in spiritualist education. I'm going to read to you a passage from it, and this is published by the Spiritualist National Union and is available in their shop, and I promise I'm not on commission either, but that's where you can find it if you want to purchase it later. There's a passage called In Conclusion, and I'm going to read this to you, and hopefully it will resonate something within you about your understanding of spiritualism. The religion of spiritualism is open to all, rejecting none. It challenges many long-held ideas and seeks to enhance old knowledge with new wisdom. It condemns no one, yet may challenge many to search for their own understanding of themselves and their purpose, both inwardly and in the world around them. The philosophy propounded in the religion of spiritualism is not complacent. It suggests that every day is a new day, and as such offers new opportunity and the chance to develop further as an evolving spiritual being. Spiritualism offers leadership to every individual who wishes to inspire and empower the spirit within. Spiritualists believe that God lies within each of us and around all of us. We should allow his spirit to manifest through our lives in every word, thought, and deed. Spiritualism does not give a message of suppression, but one of release. Not a message of restriction, but one of fulfillment. Not a message of fear, but one of hope. Not a message of limitation, but one. The religion of spiritualism enables all compassion and understanding. It can be said that God's creation of humankind represents a high point in universal spiritual evolution. Opportunities surround us where we can enjoy all that he has provided in order to help us achieve real happiness. Through that happiness, an individual may attain an awareness of himself, his role and responsibilities, and his relationship with his Creator. It is man's task and duty to honor and respond to the trust God has placed in him. God does indeed hold us in his hands and in his heart. You know, in thinking about an address or my thoughts to share with you this evening, I can't happen to avoid the concept of course, we come to the end of a year. And 2020 for us all has been a very challenging year. And who would have thought this time last year that a little thing like this that goes over your face mask, would be synonymous with 2020? But of course it has been, and is now an everyday part of certainly my wardrobe anyway. The last 9 months in particular, wherever we are in the world, has been challenging and difficult, as I say. And it certainly allowed me in my own life to question my thoughts of spiritualism and indeed my relationship with my God, however I personally perceive that power to be. I'm lucky to be part of a church community here in Edinburgh in Scotland. And we normally meet every Sunday morning. And indeed, we had a virtual service just like this at 11 o'clock this morning. But we haven't met in person since March, when we in the UK first went into lockdown. And in the weeks that followed that, I certainly have found myself, shall we say, perhaps a little bit more disconnected from my religion of spiritualism, in the sense that I haven't had that touch point every week, every Sunday morning, of going to church, meeting like-minded people, and just sharing an hour or so with those people, not expecting anything other than just taking with me my opportunity and certainly my mind and my consciousness to open that to spirit and to learn a little bit more about my understanding of God. And that's been my routine on a Sunday morning, as I'm sure it has perhaps on a Sunday evening been for many of you for many years. And as the weeks went on, I did feel I was losing touch. I was losing that. And that was before we started to find the Zoom and how we can all connect with each other virtually. And soon after that, I started to think about my relationship with God. And of course, thinking, well, maybe I'm losing not only my link with spiritualists and spiritualism, but maybe even my faith in that God. Am I still using God as a touch point in my life for that inspiration and that help that sometimes I need, just like you, to get from one day to the next? And it was one day I was sitting down thinking about it, and perhaps an advantage of lockdown is that we had a little bit more time in our hands to think. And I thought, what could I do with that time that's productive and will help me spiritually? And I simply thought about something which is not profound at all, but maybe something that was lacking in my life, and that was prayer. And I really felt the need to link with my God, and I do that through prayer, and you might have your own way of establishing that link. But simply I took time to think about my understanding of that creative universal spirit and its role in my life. And it was really interesting by going into that period of stillness and calmness, which I call prayer, and trying to link with my God, I found an inner strength. I found some sort of guidance, inspiration, which did help me through some of those difficult days in the very early stages of lockdown that I'm sure we've all experienced. So I'm kind of pleased that as a result of what we've all experienced through the coronavirus this year, I maybe re-established a link with my God and understanding that actually we don't need to attend churches and centres. And I know many of you throughout the world don't even have that opportunity, or even workshops and groups with other people. I can literally be at home, be on my own, extend my thoughts and my consciousness to Spirit and to God, and make that all important link. But one thing I have missed, like I'm sure many of you, is the physical contact with other people. And to be honest, I didn't realize just how much I needed that in my everyday work, as well as a spiritualist too. I'm used to seeing people. I'm used to working with people, speaking at events, conferences, meetings, and suddenly all of that stopped. And of course, through the wonders of internet technology when it works, and through Zoom, like we are on this evening, we can see each other, we can communicate. And that's good. But it's not actually about sharing that physical presence with each other. It's not the same. And I'm sure with that. In the UK, and I heard a lot about this expression and in learning more about coronavirus, hands, face, and space. It's very much a mantra that's used all the time by our politicians and TV now. And when I think about that, it does have a spiritual connotation too, in the sense of when we think of our hands, I often think about how useful we are for other people in our lives, in our neighborhoods, in our communities, as well as obviously within our own homes. And this year, more than ever, I think perhaps we have all learned to open up to see how we can support each other. Maybe it's by offering to get some shopping for neighbors, or just give that helping hand, which is so, so important to many people. That face-to-face contact, as I've mentioned, is really, really important. And it's something for many of us that has been missing for a long time. And I'm always conscious of those who live on their own, especially at this time of the year, when they maybe feel disconnected from everybody else as well too. So how, in the absence of that face-to-face, in-person contact, can we reach out, maybe virtually, to other people to make them aware that you're still there listening, you're still there helping, and just simply you can be there for them in their times of need. Within the UK in the last 12 hours, things have changed a lot. And of course, we're all being forced to think again about how we celebrate that festive period, whatever we're doing with our families and friends over that period. So for some people, it might be, I don't want to say a lonely Christmas, but a Christmas where we are spending more time on our own. Now, I tend to be someone who is a half glass full type of person, or glass half full type of person. So I tend to be optimistic and thinking the bright side of life. And I'm thinking about, well, maybe this is a time of the year, unlike other times, other years, where we can actually put to one side all the fuss and all the bother about the festive period and just focus on you. Just focus on those who are close to you, even if that means communicating with them virtually. just spending that precious time with each other, rather than thinking about who's going to do the cooking and the shopping and have I got the right present and enough presents for this one, that one, and the next one. Maybe this year we can just be a little bit different. And maybe that's a good thing. Sometimes we just need to take a pause in our lives, take a step back and look at where we are and who we are. Now, you might know that in Scotland, whilst Christmas is to be celebrated, another time to be celebrated at this time of the year in Scotland, as with the rest of the world, but particularly here, is New Year. And certainly it's a very traditional time, both in my family and, as I say, certainly in Scotland as a whole. And that's a time when we would take an opportunity to take stock, to really think about what we've achieved in the last year. And if that's not been good, or we've not had the best of experiences, it's about putting it to one side, putting it behind us and moving on. And as we move into 2021, just within a number of days now, it's an opportunity for us to take stock, think about the future, think about what we want to achieve, how we want to live our lives. And as I say, think about what we have achieved. Now, whilst the experience of lockdown and the virus might not have been good in our lives, it was an opportunity for us maybe to readdress our work-life balance, how we live our lives, how we share our thoughts and our time with each other, and how precious some people are in our lives. The tradition of New Year in Scotland has changed over the years, and older people will say it's not the same as to how it was celebrated many years ago. But my grandparents used to always have a tradition. Every New Year's Eve, we would call it Hogmanay. Every New Year's Eve, you literally, just before the strike of the bells at midnight, you would open the front door and open the back door at the same time. Now, it tends to be quite cold in Scotland, so that's not a good idea. But nevertheless, that was the tradition just for a few moments around midnight. And the whole idea of that was to synonymize the concept of you open the front door to welcome in the new year, and you open the back door to let the old year leave. And I think that's really important. I remember it being quite an emotional, touching time, especially if you'd lost family members or you had a tough year as a family. Then it was an opportunity, as I say, to take stock and to think about what could be coming in literally through the front door. So maybe my wish for all of you this year is to think about, well, what's coming in your front door and what's going out your back door. Think about literally about what you would like to achieve in the coming year. What sort of person would you like to be? That reading was telling us that in our search for God, all we need to do is look within, because God is with and within us at all times, as well as all around us. So therefore, God is not disconnected to us, neither. We all have learned this year about the importance of physical contact. And whilst it's very good for us to say that as spiritualists, we know there is no such thing as death, because we continue to live in a new existence, in a new life. And of course, most valuably, we can still communicate with them and commune with them too. But that's very difficult for us to take on board in that period of grief when we've lost the physical contact of that person that we cherished and loved so much. And in a strange way, here in this world, we've kind of found out a little bit about what that's like. We know our family and friends have not gone, they're just physically distanced from us. And again, we've had to learn how to cope with that and how to deal with that. I hope that next year will be much more productive and much more fruitful and much better for us all. But importantly, let's not look upon 2020 as just a horrible experience, much as it might be. But let us think about what we could learn from that, what we could take into our new year through the experience of this year. I hope that as spiritualists and coming together virtually, not only are we able to share our understanding of spiritualism, of the spirit world, and of God, we're able to share a sense of fellowship, which is, I think, so important. And I'm delighted that that's not just limited to our local communities, where our local churches are, or indeed our own particular country, but is worldwide, in understanding that humankind, that brotherhood of man, the sisterhood of women, is something which knows no boundaries. And as God is with us all, God transcends these nations and is there to support us all in our times of need. So whatever you're doing over the festive period and whatever you're going to be doing into the new year, I wish you well, and I hope you have a very peaceful and hopefully a very relaxing time as well too. And I hope that above all, you remember, as certainly I do as a spiritualist, that the future opportunities that are there for us are for us to take, for us to make, as we are responsible for our own lives. And as we all have the opportunity to link in to that power of God, we can achieve whatever we want to achieve. So with that, I'm just going to leave those thoughts with you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, John, for sharing your philosophy with us. Simone, could I invite you into the room to give us your closing prayer?
Yes, of course. Okay. Please join with me in prayer. Divine and loving Spirit, our Creator, we thank you for your light and your love as we join together in your power in our community. We give thanks to you, our God, for all that you do, for all that you provide for us in our daily lives. We know that we are going through a difficult time and that everyone is feeling it. But we know with your power and your light that there is hope, there is peace. We can move our minds into that power when we need restoration. We know too that your love is endless, will always be there for us. As we join together and thank those from that world we call the spirit world who've been with us this evening, we ask that we be reminded of the responsibility we have for each other and for our own spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Simone, for the closing prayer. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for joining us, and a special thanks to our worker this evening for their wonderful, inspiring words and messages, and also thanks to the spirit world, to whom this would not be possible. So on behalf of the SNUI, John, Minister Simone, and myself, we wish you a wonderful evening and day, and look forward to seeing you all very, very soon. Thank you very much for joining us.